Hey, Dr. J here. It's good to see you guys, and I'm grateful for your time. Some of you may have heard of this wild journey that I had where I had a player who was so under the influence of Ambien that he actually slept through his wife being taken to the hospital because she had appendicitis. This was a wild realization to me because I thought when people reached into their pocket and they invested in me flying across the country to really increase their health, their resiliency, their overall quality of life, their balance in their body, I assumed that they were kind of all natural and holistic oriented. And I was wrong. Sometimes I didn't know what people did when I was not around them, even though they were under my care. And I found out that a lot of peak athletes were under the influence of harsh sleeping chemicals. This motivated me to make a difference, and I wanted to figure out if there was a way that I could create what they were putting in their body in a more natural form. Many years ago, I remember a brilliant formulator was doing consulting for the NBA. The reason he was doing consulting for the NBA was they were studying the deleterious effects, the challenging effects of the travel schedule for NBA players. NBA players are famous for only being in one town for one night, and then they have to play in another stadium the next day. Needless to say, crossing time zones, the demanding amount of travel that they do, it's exhausting, and a lot of times players have used harsh chemicals and or just live a life of sleeplessness where then they're often dependent upon caffeine or stimulants throughout the day. I wanted to make a dent and do something about this. So I found out that years ago somebody was doing consulting for the NBA, and I did something kind of out of the box. I hired a private investigator, and the private investigator hunted this man's cell phone down. This man happened to be a consultant and one of the directors for the American Herbal Products Alliance. He was the director of the Standards Committee. He was one of the most ethical, beautiful, most informed people within the nutraceutical and supplement industry. I received his cell phone from the private investigator. I called him on a Saturday, and I said, "My name is Dr. Jason Colbert." I told him my whole journey about athletic performance, my passion for helping health and healing, and this recent experience I had with a client who was under the use of Ambien. What could I do differently? Could I create a formula? Could I create something that I can give people where I could feel good about it, where it could be ethical, authentic, transparent, totally natural, not harmful, really help people's quality of life, help their ability to sleep, but make sure it wasn't addicting and not drowsy. And of course, also be really careful because I was working with peak athletes. I wanted to make sure that there was never any ingredients that possibly could cause them to show up as failing a test when they have to submit for drug analysis to make sure that they are ethical and clean athletes. The mentor said to me, "That's interesting. Where do you live?" And I said, "I live in Arizona." He said, "That's funny. I missed my sister's birthday. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I didn't send a card." He said, "I'll tell you what. Help me visit my sister and I'll give you 15 minutes of my time." And I'm thinking to myself, 15 minutes? But I went for it. And needless to say, after 3 hours of sitting with this mentor, he told me so much of the fraudulent activity that happens within the supplement industry. He said, "There's only one way I will be your mentor, and if you do this as clean and ethical and transparent as possible, you've got to learn about NSF for Sport, which is the cleanest level of sport certification possible within the athletic industry to show that there are no harmful chemicals, nothing that's cheating the system." He taught me about WADA. He taught me about testing for the Olympics. He taught me about what does it mean to be ethical and good manufacturing process as well. In other words, if something has 100 grams of X ingredient in it, he wanted to make sure that when we get tested, it has 100 grams of X that we are guaranteeing in it. No synthetic fillers, no cutting corners. This mentor changed my life, and this ultimately became sort of the catalyst for me creating Human Elements, our company that is powerful, transforming health through natural nutraceuticals.